Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market, where every day we discuss everything to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and the various other markets, which we are always hoping go up. Any of them, any one of them that exists on the internet. Loaded up for discussion today, we've got crypto billionaire and Tron founder Justin Sun offering a juicy 20% yield on stablecoins. We'll dive into what's going on there. Next, we've got AI16Z announcing entrance into robotics, which will cost $420,000. Brad will be giving us a lowdown there. And then finally, Pump Fund faces legal action for those allegedly harmed by investing on their platform. I guess that will have to be me dealing with some of the legal things there. We're also going to be talking about the general price action on crypto and NFTs, a general thought on the market being a little bit up today, which is good, and a little bit of a deep dive into the creator economy and some of our plans, which is coming up pretty soon, tomorrow or the next day. Pretty big day for us as we make a bit of a strategic shift in how we are going about the business. Looking forward to share that with you today. Got Legendary and Bread in the co-host seats. We're ready to get into it. Just a reminder, friends, as we go through all the various topics, this is not financial advice. We do not know anything for sure. Please proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Legendary, it's Thursday. It's 16th of January. You thought I was going to Bread first, but I came to you today. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
GM, love the pudgy privilege. This is the way it should be. Doing pretty well. There's something new on the Modern Market X site, which not a lot of people have seen.
Ooh,
we have
what's going on?
We have a Modern Market community. We've been talking about this quite a lot, and I'm not gonna tease too much. Not gonna take too much away because we're gonna have a bit of a segment on that. Either way, we're gonna touch more on that. But there is a Modern Market community that can be joined from the Modern Market X account, and we'll talk a bit more about that later in the show.
Oh, I had not planned on talking about that. I was going to talk about something else. So if you want to talk about that now,
to connect those things with something else where you wanted to throw to me.
got it. I see. We've got multiple plans that are kind of coming to fruition at the same time. It seems that's what it sounds like to me. But if you wanted to sneak in now, I guess what you could do, if you were sneaky, or even if you're not, I guess what can people do? You just go to the Modern Market account, and underneath that, there's a Modern Market community. What is that? Is it like a little box or something?
Say there's a community section. It says communities. It says Modern Market. You can click on it. You can join it. And then after the show, we have to approve the requests. It's a restricted one, so just have a bit of patience if your request does not get approved during the show, because we are focusing on the show.
Love it. Let's do it. Starting the official X Modern Market community. That's going to be fun. And yes, I agree with Legendary. There's some deeper things going on there. So we'll maybe explain that a little bit more in detail in just a little bit. Bread, what is going on your side? You are traveling. Is this another hour earlier for you today? Is this 4 a.m. yet for you, or 5 a.m.?
It is 4 a.m. I was going to say, you guys have a plan. I will have a home today. That's the goal. So yeah, it's up early, 4 a.m. It's fine though. I went to bed earlier yesterday, and I'm only 3 hours away from final destination. So I'll get there and I'll have a blank space to basically do nothing in for a few days.
Is this so this is the final leg of the journey? You're going to do the final 3 hours.
10, 3.
You wanted that nice, comfortable 3-hour one today, right?
Yes, very much so.
How's the 10-hour drives been? Like, how do you pass
honestly not
10
bad.
hours in the car?
Yeah, I mean, we just alternate, right? So I'm not driving by myself, thank God. And honestly, I travel a lot, so like I'm pretty used to like just downtime, airplanes. I just did the fucking 3 months across whatever Asia, whatever. It's like lots of trains, lots of whatever. So I don't know if that's the reason, but otherwise, like, you know, we enjoy each other's company. We just chill. I can kind of work from my phone while I'm not driving, and then, you know, while I drive, she can settle all the logistical nonsense of trying to move across the country. So like we're trying to find the balance, but honestly, it's passed pretty well, but we're ready for sure.
Sounds good. Sounds very, very good. Glad that the journey is going well. Glad that somehow it seems like the earlier it is, you've got like inverse energy. You're getting more and more energetic the earlier that you have to have to rise. So
listening to Huberman, I got my, I'm actually doing everything opposite. I have no light. I'm drinking coffee already. So like all that stuff is the opposite of what I want, but I'm noticing the delightful things in life. You need to train yourself to notice the delights, and then you become optimistic.
Got it. Good stuff. A lot of optimistic stuff in the news today. So let's get to that straight away, Brad, if this is going to help you wake up a little bit better as well. The market's up, starting with the price action as always. With the majors, we've got Bitcoin up a couple of percent, just underneath 99K. You've got ETH up around 5% to 3.3K. And you've got Solana up 14% to $213. I think that's really ripped in the last hour or so. Of course, though, all underperforming the new favorite coin, XRP. XRP is up 16%. Crypto made in America seems to be the bullish thing. Up 40% in 7 days. Pretty astonishing. Good stuff. Getting into the meme coin side of things, let's see what is going on over there. We've got Doge up 7% to 37 cents. You've got Pepe up 9%, Bonk up 8%, Pengu up 11%. Remember, I said on the show yesterday that I wanted to go and do those swaps because I thought it was a good time to buy Pengu. I wanted to use Infinex and use ETH and swap directly to Pengu because they've released that feature. And I didn't get to do it in time before it then just ripped 10%, which was kind of annoying. I still might do it anyway to test the feature. WIF is up 16%. Everything's up, guys. It's a good day. Everything's green. Fartcoin's up 25%. Trying to pick up some other big ones. AI XBT up almost 40% to 93 cents now. Absolutely ripped. I think it was at its low point when it dipped, it was around 40 cents. So again, once again, the AI agents or the strongest assets in the AI sector are the ones which are moving most on the big moves. So that's something to note. And I think Legendary probably touch on that a little bit more in a bit too. Let's keep it moving though, getting to the headlines themselves. We have crypto billionaire and Tron founder Justin Sun offering 20% yield on stablecoins and telling everyone specifically not to worry where the yield comes from. Apparently, it is simply because they have plenty of money. So that's that. Legendary's going to break down a little bit what's going on there in a bit. AI16Z announces entrance into robotics with Elisa wakes up, a productivity partner, which I believe the starting cost is around $420,000. The agents can perform a range of advanced tasks and operate autonomously across multiple digital ecosystems while maintaining their unique personalities and knowledge. Brett's going to do a bit of a deep dive there as we get into the headlines a little bit later in the show, into the discussion part of the show. And then finally, Pump Fund faces legal action for those allegedly harmed by investing on the platform. This is a case brought by, or is going to be brought by Berwick Law, announcing publicly that they're going to pursue legal action on behalf of the investors in Pump Fund meme coin. So I'll take a little bit of a look at that towards the end of the show and see whether you've got a case. Legendary, as a large Pump Fund investor, I wonder whether you consider yourself to have a case. Would be curious for your thoughts in a little bit. Some notable sales from around the space. CryptoPunk pilot helmet sold for 100 ETH, and two Boo Bears on the Bearer Chain. Two Bearer Chain NFTs sold for 37 ETH and 36 ETH respectively. Still waiting for Bearer Chain to make some bigger announcement of when they're going to be live. Famously is not yet still. We are in Q1, but the Q5 of Bearer Chain is not with us at the moment. Let's get into the NFT side of things. Legendary, what is going on that side?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look. A bit of an uneventful day for NFTs. Pudgy Penguins just up a touch, up 2.5%, 23.9 ETH floor. Bored Apes, however, up a bit more, up 7%, 15.35 ETH floor, but basically unchanged, just down 2.5% over the last 7 days. Azuki's up 3.5%, corrected the dump that they had yesterday, 12.86 ETH floor for the Azuki collection. Doodles up another 7%, 5.2 ETH floor, up 11% over the last 7 days. And the collection that we mentioned yesterday in the Web3 Roundup, Dunks, which just had minted, is up 20%, 0.32 ETH floor. So it's going back close to the all-time high that it had reached pre-reveal. But just keep in mind the collection is just 2 days old.
Very cool. I think that is very cool. Good on Loop, who is leading that collection. Getting into the rest of the news to get you up to speed with everything else that's been happening in the space. This was a busy day, actually. I found it difficult to get all of the news in. We've got SEC asking the courts to overturn the ruling which determined the sale of XRP that it was not an unregistered securities offering. So they're trying to get the courts to say that it was, after they have already said that it wasn't. Oklahoma State proposes to use some of states' pension funds and savings to buy Bitcoin. That's the kind of movement that is kind of percolating. I don't know if anything's like hyper official in those places, but the movement to get some states to get Bitcoin on the balance sheet. This is a really big piece of news. Geo Platforms is collaborating with Polygon Labs to bring Web3 capabilities to 400 million users. This is obviously in India, where Reliance Industries is one of the biggest companies, and Geo Platforms is one of the biggest mobile providers. And so they're going to be bringing, leveraging Polygon's cutting-edge blockchain solutions to create innovative Web3 services for Geo's existing 450 million customers. I think that's pretty humongous news for Polygon. So that's interesting to note. Solve is going to be the first token to launch with day one centralized exchange listing and hyperliquid spot listings. I wonder if that becomes a thing moving forward, where we've already noted how centralized exchange listings have seemingly become less important and have not been as good for price action. Maybe the hyperliquid pairing or the hyperliquid spot listing will end up being the better thing, at least in the short to medium term. I don't know. Interesting to just see that happen. AICC DAO announces the vesting for contributors and advisors and supply that will go to devs, community, and hackathons. Remember, this is the DAO which launched not so long ago to some controversy over the weekend, where they basically raised a limited amount with a limited number of people. The price ballooned so much so that lots of people were sitting on 7 figures of profits. Some sold, some didn't. There were questions asked as to why there was no vesting. They've now implemented that and kind of broadened out their plans for what they plan to do. So that is good to see. I think the price responded positively. I think they were up 20% after that news. The AI agent market cap
GitHub
hit
and Kaido. I think that's an interesting note there. They're using GitHub and Kaido because like they don't have a dashboard there, but I wonder if they can target the AI sector specifically for like yappers in the AI sector or DeFi or whatever, and that's how they'll pinpoint who they give rewards to. That's just an interesting thing, and like more notes, Kaido is being leaned on by a lot of these protocols in order for reward distribution. Very something to be used to or to note. You need a yap.
Yeah, very interesting point. So the point that Brad's specifically referencing there is the 6.4% of supply going to devs and community using GitHub usage and Kaito. So I guess if you produce quality content in that arena, whether it's specifically to do with AICC or the kind of agentic economy, maybe that's part of it. Or that'll be part of the distribution. But very well noted that Kaito is becoming increasingly important, I think. Well, people are certainly trying to leverage it more and more. AI agents market cap hits 18 billion, surging back up from the dip to 11 billion just a few days ago. Jupiter announces their airdrop tracker for their next airdrop. If you've been active on Solana, you should definitely go and check what your airdrop is looking like. Don't forget to do that. And finally, Pengu is listed on Binance. Trading goes live today at 6 a.m. Eastern time today. So that should have happened already. Haven't checked the price action yet. Well, I guess it's up 10% in the last 24 hours, but that was also as a consequence of kind of bullish news coming out on the economy yesterday. Legendary, maybe coming to you straight away. What did you think of the market kind of moving up yesterday more generally? And then is there anything kind of taking your attention before we get into the main headlines today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the market move yesterday did surprise me, to be honest. It was so massive with some of the AI agents. And, I've been busy with in real life events yesterday that when I came back to the desktop in the evening, I was asking you, did I miss some kind of listing action? Because everything pumped so much. I think we talked a lot about the virtual set yesterday on the show and this new value accrual mechanism. But it seems to be the case that the timeline is saying there has to be more to this news. There has to be more to the fact that they're reshaping this incentive structure. And I feel like a lot of voices are now saying, okay, we are getting really close to a Coinbase listing. So this seems to be a bit the underpinning of a potential Coinbase listing that has sent the virtuals part of the agent market even higher and has fueled the mania even further.
Interesting. Yes, I think that is fair. It is just interesting to note. It's always the agents at the moment that are moving most aggressively. What do you think, Legendary? Before I could throw it to Brad to ask if there's anything else catching his attention before we get into the main stuff. The general market move more from the macro perspective. How did you think things responded yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we had the CPI numbers coming out very, very well. Inflation under expectations, so that sent the market also outside of crypto. That was positive to see. I also feel like we talked a bit about Trump from the political side, maybe as an extension of macro, that we said we might see some first day executive orders regarding crypto. Then we had a couple pieces of news around SEC, around an external revenue service as well, which Trump had posted, and so many more things. But I feel like this is a lot of noise just pre-inauguration. So personally, before Trump's inaugurated next Monday, I will try to ignore most of those political shots fired left, right, and center. And just one last point, because I found it so interesting on the Web3 Roundup, the Geo Platforms news collaborating with Polygon Labs. That's a massive one. Rune Lord, also in the YouTube comments, pointed it out that the Ambani family or dynasty, which is behind Reliance, the Indian conglomerate. I feel like not many people probably know the Ambani name. Anant Ambani is the richest man in Asia, 9th richest man in the world, 123 billion net worth. And the only reason why we probably have heard, or most of us have heard of them in Western media, has been the wedding that they celebrated last year, this insane wedding, which was estimated to have cost anywhere between 300 mil and $1 billion, and also made news because that's the thing that Roomlord pointed out. Every single one of the groomsmen received a beautiful custom-made Audemars Piguet worth 250K for each of those watches. So that's probably the reason why we know the name, but it's very interesting to see that this is one of the biggest companies, of the biggest conglomerates in India, richest man in Asia coming into that. And once again, Polygon securing insane partnerships, doing insane BD work, but still not really being the favorite on the timeline when it comes to the scaling solutions around these.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with all of that. I think it's a colossal piece of news. I think the sentiment, it does kind of lag for Polygon, maybe because of the way the previous partnerships ended up playing out, maybe not in the way that they expected. But I guess all you could do is kind of continue to secure what you consider to be the best in-class opportunities available to you, and that seems like a huge partnership. And I agree with your just general take on India. I've been reading a bunch of statistics on India. Not only are the population is strong, the population is educated. I saw this really interesting thing that in the next, I think this might have been by Balaji, in the next, is it decade or so, it'll be the first time ever that a non kind of Anglo-Saxon European origination set of people will be like the predominant English speakers of the world, because of the way that their population is moving. As a country, they've got leaders, or as a nationality, they've got leaders in so many of the top organizations now. I think they're doing a great job, and I think we've got to pay attention to what is going on over there. Very big news. I agree. Brad, unless you've got any reflections on that, anything catching your attention before we get into a bit of a creator segment and then the main headlines today?
No, let's kick it off. Although I like just to add a little note on that, it's actually growing within the crypto sphere too. Like if you listen to the Good Game podcast with the Lion Style founders, Imran Khan, obviously he's got some Indian origins with him. He's visited there. He's talked about it. It's like he sees that as one of the up and coming crypto native communities, because traditionally underserved, but very strong, very technical. It just hasn't really integrated. He was predicting that, maybe we'll see a boom within crypto as well.
Okay. I think that makes sense. Look, we're going to get into the main headlines in just a little bit as usual, but we've got a pretty interesting segment today. We're going to be revealing some of our next plans here and now. Not all of the plans, but at least some of them. This is our weekly entrepreneurial segment, Publish and Profit, where we explain some of the key secrets and tips to making money online as a creator. Today, we reveal how we will take our Web3 media company into an on-chain media company, and in doing so, go direct to you guys, our listeners and viewers. This segment is brought to you by Lil Nouns, an expansion DAO based on the famous Nouns DAO, who fund cool creative endeavors which can proliferate the Nounish meme. So there are a few reasons why we want to go on chain and start to mint NFTs. First, it's fun and people like to mint. We already know people like expensive NFTs, and that is an established asset class. But what apps like Zora and Pods Media have shown is that fans are quite happy to mint and collect inexpensive NFTs by creators on a routine basis to signal their support. That means we as a company can give the opportunity to our listeners and viewers to support us monetarily if they wish, whilst continuing to offer the show for free to everyone. Second, we operate in an on-chain economy, so we should leverage on-chain assets. To have more skin in the game, I think we should be experimenting with the tech which we involve ourselves with every day. Third, it's an alternative revenue stream. Media is very, very hard work, and you are very reliant on sponsors. We are so fortunate to have awesome partners, but it makes sense to have one way we can go direct to our viewers and listeners and establish for ourselves an alternative revenue stream. And then number 4, on-chain data information. We operate in Web3, but we keep using Web2 data. So when people ask us about our viewers and our metrics, we keep telling them our YouTube numbers, our Spotify numbers, and our Twitter numbers, and that's all fine. But we also want to be able to incorporate some on-chain data, which could unlock some interesting downstream opportunities. That's enough of a reveal for now. Going to hold some back for next week's edition. Legendary, how are you feeling about our move on-chain?
It makes a lot of sense, right? I might have been a bit skeptic in the beginning, but ultimately it's such a natural progression in the journey that whenever we talk to someone about the modern market, we reference legacy metrics in a sense. We talk about the concurrent live viewers, which averaged at 1.3K in December. We say 84% of our audience is rather watching us on video instead of just, quote unquote, just listening to the spaces. So we have all of those like legacy behavior metrics that we can track, but we don't really know anything about the on-chain activity. And the way that we kind of approached this, like obviously there's people who talked about the modern market on the timeline and whom we asked, hey, you said something nice about the modern market. Can we use that as a testimonial? Can we show that to a potential partner? Which, you know, luckily everyone had agreed to, but it's still like a very legacy approach. And we don't have any on-chain footprint. We used to have an on-chain footprint with the previous venture before the modern market when we did the airdrop season with 32 Dreams, and that was something interesting to look at. But modern market's been in existence for 424 shows as of today, with no proof that this thing exists on-chain, which in hindsight kind of feels weird.
One question on this live question, which I just thought of now. What's the hesitation? Like you said, you were skeptical at the beginning. Is it around going on chain and because of all of the PTSD of 2021 where people go on chain, prices go crazy, and then, you know, people are left furious with the creators of NFTs because they've lost money on them? Because I think we've got an elegant solution for that here, right? Where now I think it's been proven that you don't need to mint things expensively. There's a way to kind of create this on-chain community without doing that.
Yeah, it's exactly that, because we didn't have that solution previously. And, you know, if we think back about airdrop season, for example, where we had this NFT that you needed to have access to the Discord, where we had airdrop tutorials, both of us said from the get-go, this can't be marketed as a lifetime subscription. Everyone's promising lifetime, but almost nobody is like truthful about that, because like this is such a, I don't know, 99% is BS to say something is lifetime. So we clearly said this is going to be valid until this date, and we extended that by a year for free. So this is how we back then thought to manage expectations, but still created PTSD because expectations are always high when you put stuff on chain. This is why I was hesitant before we found an elegant solution. And that is kind of exactly, without, you know, teasing too much of that, this bridging point of, on the one hand, being able to be on chain, but on the other hand, the time where we also, or the place where we also spend the most amount of time on is X ultimately, right? Snapshots on X. Most of the people who watch on video are watching on X and not on YouTube. Spaces obviously on X as well. But there wasn't like a place, a community to communicate across the all of us on X. And this is why it also made sense to reflect on that. And at the same time, come up with a modern market community as a community on X and not go for a Telegram chat or not go for something else, because it just makes sense to be in the place where our audience and our community already is, and not like force them to use something else.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Telegram's become a complete mess. Like it's just it's a heart attack waiting to happen as you go into Telegram, given how many chats that are going on there. So I guess as we conclude this segment, we're not going to explain all the details at the moment, but the key things to note, there is now a modern market community on X. If you go to the X profile, you can see that there's a little box that's appeared just beneath the bio and just above all the tweets. You can click in, you can apply. Obviously for our live listeners, I don't know if there's a max number at the moment. We're kind of making this stuff up as we go along, but the thing that we wanted to do very, very strongly was get all of the people who are listening to us routinely, who've made us a part of their routine, into the community, have a place where we can share the information that's going on with us, share the mints that are going to be happening. And the point of these mints, by the way, just to be super clear, is that they're not speculative. Like, I think the culture with minting has changed. It is no longer, I'm going to mint this NFT and that specific NFT is going to go up 10x, 100x. That's the reason for buying it. The culture around Zora, the culture around minting podcasts is purely to support the creators. And then with a view to, you know, if someone else at some point in time thinks that this community, who we think is one of the most sophisticated, intelligent, and smart communities on the platform, that would be a good community to target or try to look towards and try to reward or try to get their attention, there's an on-chain way to prove that you're a part of it, right? So that will be one of the interesting opportunities that we see moving forward. We don't know how that plays out precisely. We're just trying to take these things one step at a time. But that's the game plan. We're going on chain. Very, very excited to share that. It should be tomorrow or the day after. We'll, you know, share it at the right point in time. But glad that you will be here for the journey and hope that you will stay with the journey as we move on chain as well. So hope that was interesting to people. Shout out to Lil Nouns DAO for sponsoring this segment. Remember, Lil Nouns is an expansion DAO based on the famous Nouns DAO who fund cool creative endeavors which can proliferate the nounish meme. Excited about that. Excited about getting into the headlines today. Legendary. Getting into the first main headline today. Crypto billionaire and Tron founder Justin Sun. What's he up to? What's this 20% yield on stable coins? What's the context? How are things going?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at this piece of news, which triggered a lot of PTSD for people on the timeline. So first of all, Justin Sun, as you said, founder of the Tron blockchain. Tron blockchain is tremendously popular for stablecoin payments. Is around $7 billion in TVL. The native stablecoin on there is USDD, which back then was launched initially as a competitor to the Luna UST ecosystem and currently has a circulating supply of around 750 million. And this stablecoin USDT is in the process of being revamped and coming out as USDT, or marketed as USDD 2.0. And Justin Sun, the Tron founder, had this post saying USDD 2.0 is about to launch with a 20% APY, fully subsidized by Tron DAO. All interest will be sent in advance to a transparent address. There's no other reason. It's simply because we have plenty of money. So stop asking questions like, quote unquote, where does the yield come from? And this is exactly what is triggering the PTSD. But just before I go a bit into that more to understand how USDT is working as a stablecoin, it claims to be over collateralized by the Tron DAO. We touched on that when it was over collateralized by more than 200%. And this over collateralization has been reduced to, I think, currently around 120%. And it's mainly backed by Tron, which is the ecosystem token of the Tron, by TRX, which is the ecosystem token of the Tron blockchain. But it's also backed by, or has been backed historically by BTC. It's been backed by USDC and has had a healthy over collateralization ratio. And now the problem, or the worry with this announcement really is that there's no specific details on important questions like, is this an incentive that is just limited in time? We've seen PYUSD offering the PayPal stablecoin very attractive yield, but just for a given period of time before that faded away. Is there a cap? is to like say just the first, I don't know, $1 billion or $2 billion for the first 3 months will receive this incentivized yield. And basically, if you do it like this and you figure out the math behind it, you can say, okay, we're going to have to pay 140 million interest, which we can afford. And it's a marketing spend, a marketing campaign. So we pre-fund this interest, send it to a wallet, but we also will have this capped. And by the way, Justin Sun is wording that. It sounds like that because it's exactly what he's saying, that interest will be sent in advance to transparent address. But obviously, there's like still a massive concern because this is just speculation because we don't have the details yet. And it's reminding people a lot of the Terra Luna ecosystem, where also academic papers have been written on that after the collapse, like the one that I'm just sharing on screen, where you had the very similar concept that their stablecoin USD was backed by Luna. So if Luna were to collapse, which in the end happened, that would drag down USD even further because people would sell Luna, or the foundation would sell Luna to basically try to regain the peg of USD. And if that peg falls off, that creates a death spiral. Very similarly, we've seen that also happen with Iron and Titan on Iron Finance. Iron Finance, for those who remember, similar two-coin system, which didn't work out well. So this is the concern that the timeline is currently having. You have a stablecoin that, yes, is over-collateralized, and yes, is also being backed by other assets, not only TRX, but ultimately the majority of the backing is by TRX. And if we don't know if there's a cap on this 20% yield, which, by the way, is also exactly the amount of yield you could farm on Luna Terra back then with UST, which is, again, helping, quote-unquote, to trigger that PTSD. So if we don't know all of those rules, like, is there a cap? Is this a limited incentive, as in being limited in time? This creates a lot of concern on the timeline.
Okay, very nice summary, including all of the context of how things have played out before, which is obviously super relevant to now because just knowing what's happened before is helpful to assess the current situation. One way that I guess, look, I'm going to defend His Excellency for just one moment, because there's a reasonable question to ask, which is a lot of stablecoin yields have been juiced. Not just on, in fact, predominantly on Solana recently in the last, I don't know what, 6 months or so. Remember, the stablecoin business is going to become an increasingly competitive business. Of course, USDT right now is by far and away the leader. You've got USDC as well, with a huge amount of TVL. You've got things like Athena coming up, with I think about 5 to 6 bill of TVL now too. So people want to get into that business. You've had people like PayPal enter into the business, trying to attract your capital into so that they can have custody of it. And in doing that, one of their strategies was to go to Solana protocols like Drift and go to Solana protocols like Camino and say, look, if people are borrowing this, fine, offer them the normal yield that the market would give them. But in addition to that, we're just going to pay more. Like, we're just going to have a certain amount of money that we're going to throw at lenders who deposit our, in this case, it's PYUSD. We're going to throw that money at them. And in those circumstances, no one specifically says, oh, you know, this is like unrealistic amount of yield. Where's the yield coming from? It's basically, the answer to that question is legitimately, well, the people behind it just want to throw money at it because they want you to hold their stablecoin. What's your response to that, Legendary? That's me kind of trying to play devil's advocate here. I know everyone's immediate response is the PTSD one. What do you think on that?
Yeah, this is exactly why I had mentioned PYUST, because they did what you described. They took a chunk of money, took I don't know how many millions, had a marketing expense by adding a reward API to a base API. And we see projects and protocols doing it all the time. And I ultimately think that Justin Sun is very much aware of how those two token ecosystems worked out in an uncapped way. And he's also aware about the controversy that he's creating by saying, don't ask questions about the yield and where it's coming from, because stuff like that goes viral. And ultimately, I think there's going to be, this is my personal speculation, there's going to be like limitations that, and again, this is in line with his wording, that the interest will be pre-funded and sent to an address. So they will know how much interest they will need. And it might be something like, this is going to go on for 60 days and will be capped to the first 2 billion we deposit in TVL. And hence it's going to be a marketing expense of, I don't know, 20, 30 mil or whatever for them, which they very well can pre-fund and stomach. And it's not going to be an unlimited Black Swan event that they are trying to brew. I just don't think that this is the case.
So is there any chance that we're going from saying that this is kind of risky behavior to saying, actually, this is a fantastic deal? If you're saying like, if within those parameters where things are like far more controlled, would we go as far? Brad, you're finding that funny. Is it a good deal?
So I think for my position, I'm looking at like Tron. I think like the reason things went sour in the past is people got over their skis, right? This is the new paradigm. Everyone got overextended. They're looping this shit, right? Then you had like large financial or large institutional players getting into it, doing the exact same thing. 3 Arrows Capital, all these people, right? They're creating a lot of like systemic risk to it. I'm looking through the Tron ecosystem, and like Just Lend has $5.6 billion of TVL. And then the next closest thing is that Pump Sun thing, which has like 900 mil. Remember when everyone ran over there to do that? Because Tron was going to take everything from from Pump Fund for like a week. Anyways, and so like, I think without the crazy Luna fanatics, right? You had Novogratz getting a tattoo of fucking Howling Moon, right? Like it was insane how much like actual community, quote unquote, was like cultivated behind the Luna stuff to like get everyone out over the top of stuff. I'm wondering if, because one, the PTSD is going to make people like pump the brakes a little bit, and then two, like there's not a fervent community that's just going to like overextend themselves on top of everything else and like proliferate their message and shit. I think it might be fine. Just, and controversial take for me, I think had Luna not been attacked, like it got depegged during a transition whenever they were trying to move their pools, right? During the pool transition at its weakest point, someone timed it specifically that during the transition, they knocked the peg off, and then that created the spiral. I think if they made that transition, they probably could have reached escape velocity, and that thing could have just like kind of existed out there, because it takes a lot of capital to actually like knock it off once it's actually in position. But at its weakest point, it was able to be attacked. So if they stay static, keep doing this shit, and like because everyone's not gonna like get crazy allocated to it because of the PTSD, I think it'll probably be fine. That's my guess.
Look, I agree with you, Brett. I think it's gonna probably be fine. Is it something that I will use? Probably not.
Probably fine. That's like
Probably
a good,
fine. Yeah,
good
that's
phrase.
yeah, not financial advice. It says that on the shirt. I have it on extra for this day. No, but the thing is, and I said it on the show before, I love taking risk with all the AI agents, with all the new shit that's coming up, new L2s to venture into. And on the other hand, if I do the math, if I put 100K into this and say it runs for 3 months at a 20% APY, that means I make 5K on my 100. Is it worth the risk for me while the rest of my portfolio is as risk on as it possibly can be? No, I am super, super conservative with my stable coins because the rest of my portfolio is so very much risk on. So this is just the reason that it's going to be a no for me, because I play stable coins very, very conservatively.
I think that's such a good framework to think about it. Like relative to the other things that you're doing, stables are not always stable. Even sometimes the stable coins that you choose to hold might be more risky than other stable coins that you choose to hold. And so relative to the rest of your portfolio, is the risk worth it? Because everything is a risk in this space. Okay, I think that's a very nice way to conclude on that point. Probably fine, but based on what else you're doing in the space, like, is it worth it for all of your last drops of saving stable coins to be in like a protocol where you've got a question mark against it, Brad?
I just like the probably fine as and like we're okay with that. Like, you just gotta fuck around and find out around here. Like, a couple $1 billion in a thing that maybe implodes, cool. Like, let's see it. Let's see the experiment. It's good. It's funny.
There's an amount of money that you're willing to put into probably fine protocols.
That's the beauty of our ecosystem. It's like super, super honest when we review stuff. You wouldn't go into a bank and see a fund being shilled to you, and they will tell you this is the best thing ever because they need to sell it, obviously because of the highest fees. Nobody's going to be there. It's going to be probably fine. You might lose everything, but you also might not. So I kind of appreciate the honesty of us, saying, yeah, might be fine, might not, but it's a good chance you'll still have money after the experiment.
Yeah. As always, just working through our thinking live as we discover our own thinking. So hope that's helpful to people to have that conversation out loud. Brad, let's move it on into the second headline for today. This kind of came out of left field for me. Very interested in this because I'm super interested in the movement towards robotics. Fill us in what's going on with AI16Z and robots.
Sure. So, okay. So zooming back out, AI16Z is the open source, we'll say AI framework that is created by Shaw Mix Magic, right? It's very, very popular. The GitHub repo is used by, like, it's one of the most popular in the world now, and it's done in a very quick time frame. So that's the open source AI framework that is out there today. Well, there was an announcement recently, actually just yesterday, it's called Elisa Awake, or was it Elisa Wakes Up? And it is an initiative for someone to take that framework and apply it to the real world, and to a robotic or to an animatronic thing specifically. So what the purpose is make Elisa is to foster meaningful human-like companionship without without crossing into sexual territories, because there's a meme recently about like creating AI infused sexual toys. So this thing is meant to do a range of physical tasks like cutting cigars, serving drinks, running a mile in 8 minutes, and it's meant to be delivered in mid-2025. And this was a note for me, it's supposed to stand about 5'10" tall, which is a little intimidating. You always hear whenever people do these robotic stuff that they're supposed to be smaller than humans for just like psychological reasons. But that's what this thing is.
Psychological and safety reasons.
And safety, right? I actually just recently saw the CIS, the consumer, or was it CES, the Consumer Expo, with all of these like forthcoming technical advancements and a lot of things that had like these robots there too, so showing how real they can become. And it's still creepy. Like even like the forward-facing ones in these like explicit demos, they're still creepy looking, frankly, for me. But that's what this is meant to be. It's just applying what we have been seeing with this AI agent stuff to something in the physical world, meant to be a servant and an open source thing. Now, like you have some people involved that maybe are familiar for us, like Matt Rise, or what's his last name? Matt Graham. He's Matty Rise on crypto Twitter. He was involved with like, frankly, the early Solana ecosystem. That's how you might know him. He's talking about not AXPT. Sam Bankman-Fried, he was really big on him. He was bullish on him. He actually got wrecked pretty hard with the FTX collapse, but he was really involved in that back in 2021. I remember reading a lot of his stuff. I actually followed him at that time. But he's just talking about like, you can do whatever you want. They have some safeguards, so you're not actually doing like sexual acts with the thing. But it's not meant for that. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's just not meant for that. The project is for having real human companionship, just using AI16Z's framework. And of course, they have the mimetic price of $420,000 per unit coming mid-2025.
Damn. Okay, so $420,000. Legendary, you're all over the. Thanks for the summary, Brad. That was really helpful to get understanding of what's going on here. Legendary, you're deep in the AI sector. You're getting, you're always getting your AI toothbrush. You've upgraded your camera to an AI camera. Are you in the market for the first AI agent turned robot?
I'd be in the market for it, but 420K is very, very expensive. I've honestly last year been thinking to buy a robot dog as a like companion when I go out running outside. And I was like, okay, it would be super weird to be the only guy with that. But it was like very affordable. It was quote unquote very affordable. It was fucking expensive at 10K, but that's relatively affordable compared to a 420K price tag, which buys you almost 3 CryptoPunks, for example, right? So super interesting, but way too expensive for me to be in the market for it.
Interesting. Okay. It's interesting that you made the comparisons. Like the CryptoPunks is like the default price comparison for something, where if something's very expensive, you default to how many CryptoPunks you could buy instead. Coming back to you, Brad, what were your general thoughts then? Like, what are we thinking on this? Like, do we think this is this a good?
I'm still skeptical on it. So it's good that we have an open source competitor for this stuff. And open source is the framework, but it's applied to like a private entity, right? These people actually building this stuff. The people behind the actual robotic structure, I think I saw that they were created in 2012. So they've been around for a while, and they're using a frame that has been in production, is well known. So it's like multi-layers of companies that have built out these things over the years. So like there's relatively low barrier to entry. It's not someone coming together and saying, we're going to start from scratch and build up a robot that's going to be better, right? You have to understand that like this stuff has been in the works in the background. You probably see like the Boston Dynamics robots doing flippity flops all over the place, right? It's like you have those kind of companies underlying this. They're putting the skin on it and giving it a personality from AI16Z, right? So like you can kind of like take that and go, okay, cool. Probably good to have competition in the market. Tesla's has their robots coming forward. It's just this stuff is not consumer ready, right? Like this is like V0, and like you're not going to see any normal person with it. It's like just when the original Tesla came out, right? They were crazy expensive. They were probably kind of cool, like sure, a little more novel and like not as performant, but like, you know, you get 2, 3, 4, 5 gens in, and you're like, okay, now this shit is real. Prices are actually realistic. The performance is on par with like old things. Not that there's like an old thing to compare to here. So like interesting, cool. Like you're not going to see anything useful. Like you're going to pay $420,000 to have something cut a cigar next to you with a face. Like, no, you're not going to. That's silly. But like, you know, it's kind of fun to see where this stuff's going.
Yeah, very same journey that we'll see with something like the Apple Vision Pro. Also, that wasn't like initially priced that expensive for what it is. It is still very expensive at what it is, 3.5, 4K, whatever. The thing that my inner geek liked about that there's like new specs to, well, geek about, you know, with phones, we used to look, or computers, at GPU cores, CPU cores, at how many teraflops in performance does my phone have. My iPhone on paper is more performant than a PS5. And with this thing, we're looking at peak torque density in Newton meters per kilogram, at maximum joint torque, also in Newton meters. So that's pretty cool that there's a new spec sheet to geek into, and probably 10 years, 20 years down the road, this will be the flex to say, dude, my robot, my companion that I have has way more peak torque density than yours. So that's what I like, to look at those stat sheets and try to understand what this actually means.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to know, okay, that's the thing that we're going to need to understand what on earth that even means moving forward. A couple of things from me, maybe a couple of extra additional details from the article from Decrypt, which I thought were interesting, and then a question to you guys. Brad, maybe one of the reasons you think it's too expensive is because you didn't read this part of the article that said she's going to be the most beautiful, most technologically advanced robot to leave a lab. And then they're adding voice to voice communication. So, you know, there's that element to it too.
I hate when people do like I hate that kind of marketing. I hate it.
And then just more in terms of the process of how this is getting rolled out, I guess this is going to be quite cool for us to be able to observe. It said, Elisa Wakes Up claims that a series of videos documenting the robot's development will begin to roll out in collaboration with Old World Labs. Decrypt has not yet been given access to any footage of the robot in action. That said, it was confirmed to Decrypt that the Unitree H1 will be used as the base for Elisa, which Unitree claims has broken the full-size humanoid speed world record. So it seems like there's going to be like some ongoing media that's going to come out as part of Elisa's development. The question that I wanted to ask you guys, I actually shared this in a chat the other day and I didn't get an answer back. It's kind of the thing that I've been thinking about adjacent to AI agents, which is robotics in general. How do you get exposure to robotics? Like, okay, I saw the Tesla thing the other day, and you've got self-driving cars, and you've got the robot, and you've got the van, which was pretty impressive as well. That's like one way I think you can get exposure to robotics. Is crypto AI, things like AI16Z, going to be a foreseeable way to get exposure to robotics? Because once you develop the agents that can do all this stuff, surely you want to plug them into machines, right? Or is this just pure speculative stuff that we're doing, and it's these companies like Old World Labs that's mentioned in the article, who this is built in collaboration with, who are, you know, they're the robotics company founded in 2012. That's the way to get exposure, and we are unable to get exposure to them. But is there a crypto way to get exposure to this stuff? Open question.
It's a very good question. The non-crypto answer would be, because I actually find robotics very fascinating. There is a couple interesting stocks to look at which have like real world applications. That's stuff like Intuitive Surgical, for example, which are building, well, robots or robotic systems to assist surgeons with doing very well, detailed, very precise surgery, orthopedic surgery, which might be needed. That is stuff that I find interesting. On the crypto side, I personally think that, you know, we've seen AI being a massive trend in the real world, and we've seen it translate into countless AI agents in the crypto world, and we've seen quantum computing and robotics being talked about on the stock side, but we don't have a perfect translation to that yet. and crypto. And if there's going to be a robotics meta, if there's going to be a quantum computing meta, then I would rather personally bet on something that is just way lower market cap and has more tremendous upside. And just given the fact that the whole AI16Z ecosystem is now we're at 1.6 billion, around the 70th token in the top 100. Yes,
Wow.
you know, it potentially could 2 or 3x from there. But I'd rather have something that is way further on the risk curve with way more upside.
I hate physical. I have no interest in doing physical stuff. So like you see the proliferation of the software and like the actual like AI agents online, worlds continuously going online. Like, is there an avenue for it? But it's just like I think our world will be increasingly digital, and if I am going to focus my energy on one of the two worlds, it's going to be that side.
This is where I need the robot to take care of the physical world, so you can focus on the digital one.
Fair.
Like it. Didn't think of that, did you, Brett? Have a robot version of yourself dealing with everything that you don't like, so that you can concentrate on what you do like. Look, I think it's a great summary, interesting discussion. The one thing I would note as we venture into these territories which we've realistically never gone into before, we are definitely not experts in these ones. We're just having the conversation, presenting the information as we learn them, and exploring. Like, we're going to be exploring this stuff. I have a feeling robotics even just came across my mind the other day as I was thinking through where AI agents go and whether that could become a part of space at some point. I wouldn't be surprised if we talk about it more, and we're educating ourselves as we go along. So just a note there to put that out there. Look, final thing, we've only got a couple minutes left for the show. I just wanted to bring to your attention this potential lawsuit over allegations of investor harm. This is Pump Fun they haven't had a lawsuit served against them. This is a US law firm that has urged people who've been harmed by Pump Fun to step forward and support a potential legal case aimed at securing restitution. Essentially what's happening here is that they said in the past few months, Pump.Fun has collected hundreds of millions of dollars in fees, whilst illicit drug use, self-harm, racism, anti-Semitism, lewd acts, bestiality, violent, and other antisocial acts were displayed on their platform. And they've called for individuals impacted by Pump Fun's practices to come forward and contribute to a potential legal case. So the crucial detail here is that there is no legal case at the moment. I think the law firm has seen that some of these things have taken place, or they perceive that some of these things have taken place, and want to know if anyone has been harmed by it. Part of their reasoning is that they said people have lost significant amount of money to meme coins, rugs, and unfulfilled promises. They seem to also note that there's been a lack of accountability from the platform's anonymous creators. And, just to be clear, this is what they said. This is attorney advertising, where no outcomes are guaranteed, alongside the caveat that past results do not guarantee future results. So the reason why I think this is important, because obviously Pump Fun is a huge kind of entity within the crypto space now. And I think it's important to see what people are saying. My personal take as a former lawyer, although not like super clued up in this, is it feels a little bit speculative. The fact that there have been like some bad things that have happened on the platform, I don't know that would mean they're suddenly liable for a bunch of losses that have taken place. And similarly, the anonymity, I don't know why that would be a huge issue as such. But I guess if they're trying to feed into any type of anti-crypto sentiment, you will almost certainly be able to find a group of people who are disgruntled. And remember how triggered people were by, just setting a bit of context, when those details came out about how many people had made money on Pump Fun, how many people had made like more than 10K, maybe made more between 1 and 10K, and how many people had lost money. People seem to be quite surprised at how many people had lost money, when in reality, that's kind of the gambling game, right? The majority of people are going to lose, some people will win, and very few people will win big. So there'll certainly be disgruntled people as part of what's going on. But this is an example of I guess people taking a chance and seeing whether they can put a case together, find enough disgruntled people to make something happen. So I thought that was interesting to know. Any reflections from you guys? Legendary, maybe coming to you before we close out the show.
Also great marketing. I think they did the same with Hawk Coin, where they wanted to file a lawsuit or did file a lawsuit. I don't remember that, but it's from a law firm. Great marketing. Go after the thing that has a lot of mind share, a lot of attention, and try to position yourself in an interesting way that will get attention, because ultimately we speak about it on the show now.
Damn it. Maybe we've got. This is nothing, isn't it? This is absolutely nothing. This is a nothing story. I take it all back. This is not a headline. Nothing's going on here. I think we just got by an opportunistic law firm, potentially. All right, then. Well, at least the rest of the show was pretty interesting. And maybe that was a little bit interesting too on the legal side. Just a reminder, guys, we do this every single day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern time for 1 hour, live on X video, YouTube, and Apple and Spotify podcasts if you prefer to catch up on your media there. Thanks so much for joining us. We will be back again tomorrow as usual. Have a wonderful day. Take care, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.